Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of WossyRadio. So today, we have reached the penultimate game of the Dragon Gym Challenge. We've already put one player through to the final. If you've not seen that game, there is a link in the description. Don't ruin it for yourself. Go check out the really good semi-final between David and Jack. I'm not exaggerating when I say it's one of the best games of Pokemon I have ever seen. But this one ain't no slouch either, ladies and gentlemen. We've got the lovely Joe Bernard. He is playing his fighting deck using products like this. He's a dude from Omnipoke, very lovely chap. And we've got the lovely Josh Marking, he of Team Fish Knuckles. He is playing Psychic using lovely products like this. Of course, this tournament was put together with the help of the lovely folks over at Dragon Shield. It is the Dragon Gym Challenge. It is Dragon Shield. It is myself. It is the lovely Stefan Eriksson, all working together to bring you this lovely tournament. Remember, we have slightly different rules here. Only 2 of any card, rather than the usual 4. You're only allowed to use your colour and colourless, but it must be mostly your colour. More of your colour than the other colour being colourless. And no GXs or Pokemon V, though Prism Stars are fine. So ladies and gentlemen, strap yourselves in, grab yourselves a nice cold beverage, and of course, when you're done, check all the links in the description. You can get the products on TCGPlayer. You can follow me and Stefan on Twitter. You can check out Joe and Josh's YouTube. It's all a lot of fun. Enjoy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we are off with our second round 2 game. On the top, we've got Joe. He's playing Fighting. On the bottom, we got Josh. He is playing Psychic. And yeah, both these players have already won 1 game, of course. We did see Josh taking down Sierra's Metal deck. Fun little fact about Josh's second game. Sierra was actually in a great position. Josh had both his Malamar prized. Oh, which is funny. And we saw Joe take down Alessandro. Fun little fact about their game. Joe actually beat Alessandro, but he lost his footage. So he had to play the game again and beat Alessandro again. If you want a real peek behind the curtain, this game was actually played before Joe's second game against Alessandro. So if Joe had gone and lost that second game, then Josh would have had to play a round 2 game against Alessandro. Luckily, Joe pulled out the win and life was good. So starting off with this game then, Josh has got himself a Mew, the bench protecting the bench barrier Mew, and Joe has gone and got himself one of those Oranguru that is really good for resource management, getting all those resources back. So it looks like Joe is going to be going first. Remember, the player going first nowadays can play neither a supporter nor use an attack. And it looks like he's got himself a Great Ball. If it looks like Joe is playing in the dark, remember, Joe is based in the UK and Josh is based in Tennessee over in the USA. These dudes are not in the same time zone. So shout out to these lovely boys for, well, playing the game over the internet in an awkward time difference. These guys are awesome. So he has got the Great Ball. He's managed to get himself a Buzzwole. Very good option for pretty much any fighting deck, to be honest, in this format or any other. And here comes a Pokemon Communication. Buzzwole, remember, does a lot of damage if your opponent has exactly 4 prizes remaining. It may well be that Joe is going to go for a different Pokemon here. Now, remember, Joe's deck is largely built around Hitmonchan, Hitmonlee, and Hitmontop. And Josh's deck is generally built around Malamar and Giratina, though they both have Ultra Beasts in there. So Josh is accelerating Psychic Energy with Malamar to Giratina to hit efficient KOs. Joe is using, it's very awkward, right? Hitmonchan hits and goes to the bench. Then if Joe attacked with Hitmonchan, Hitmonlee then does 90 to a bench Pokemon, Malamar, and then Hitmontop, if you attacked with Hitmonlee the previous turn, does 60 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. Though, of course, that Mew for Josh is going to absolutely come in handy, because both Hitmonlee and Hitmontop both deal damage, as opposed to dropping damage counters, which means they will be thwarted by, oh look, the Mew. Now, we do see an air balloon coming down on the Oranguru to give it free retreat. We do see a Lily's Pokédoll there on Joe's side of the field. That will not give up a prize when KO'd. Now, we do see Josh dropping a Pokemon Communication. They're getting rid of a Pokemon he doesn't really want. You've got to imagine he's going to go for a Malamar here. That seems like the sensible thing to do. Or an Inkay to later evolve into a Malamar. There we go, there's the Inkay. He does, of course, need Giratina, but that's not as important in the short term as getting Malamar rolling. One of the real advantages he's got here, of course, is that Mew. He, I believe, only plays the one as he drops a Cynthia here. Also, big up to Joe for getting free, well, 2 Pokemon plus a Pokédoll with an energy on the Hitmonchan and an air balloon without playing his supporter for the turn. That ain't bad going. That's a good 0 supporter turn 1. So, if he is only playing the one Mew, and I believe he is, Josh is actually going to really want to protect that Mew. Because that Mew is going to really, really slow Joe down. I mean, when I originally looked at Hitmonlee, when I analysed it when it was revealed, one of the things I said about it was that it's really good at being able to take out benched Malamar. So, you know, comes in here. Now, it does look like Josh is actually going to go forward with the Mew here, and he might well be able to recover it later on. He drops 3 damage counters on the Hitmonchan. He does have a lucky egg on the Mew, so that if the Mew gets KO'd, he draws till he's got 7 cards in hand. And I think one of the things he's thinking here is Joe drops a Cynthia is, I've got Mew and Inkay. I'd rather not lose a Mew, to be honest with you, but I can't lose the Inkay. So you know what? It's worth it. It's worth giving up the Mew, because actually I really don't want to give up my Inkay here. Remember that these Malamar decks in Standard generally do play Jirachi to give themselves extra consistency. Of course, here there is no such option. In this format, you can only play your color and colorless, so there is no Jirachi for consistency. So even though Psychic was one of the de facto best typings you could get for this format, 2 of any card, only your color, no EXs and GXs, it's actually not that easy because you might not have the consistency. And it looks like what we've got here is Joe is choosing to attack with a Hitmonchan, puts 3 damage on the Mew, then goes to the bench and puts an Oranguru active, clearly thinking, well, look, all Josh is attacking with so far is that Mew. That Mew can drop those 3 damage counters anywhere. I'd rather keep my Pokédoll on the bench, quite frankly, rather than having to put it on the bottom of my deck to attack. So I'll pop up the Oranguru. It's got free retreat anyway. Lily's Pokédoll you can put on the bottom of your deck, but then you've got to find it again if you want it, and that's awkward. It makes no difference to have the Oranguru active right now. Now, Josh actually is in the middle of a great series of plays here. Drops a Mysterious Treasure, discarding a Psychic Energy. Good, because he can accelerate it with Malamar. To find himself a second Inkay. Then dropping Evolution Intense to get a Malamar. And, of course, he's now got an energy in the discard ready to accelerate. What he really needs here is a Giratina. Giratina would be awesome. Doesn't have it. Does actually drop a second energy on the Mew here. Now, this might seem like a slightly strange play, because of course Mew only actually has 1 attack, and it's for a single energy. But the deal here is that he gets to discard it while retreating, while keeping an energy on Mew for later, or Mew goes down and then he's got 2 energy in the discard. Josh is playing from the discard. He wants that energy in the discard. So it's just his way of fueling his Malamar for the next couple of turns. The energy does no good on Malamar, although that air balloon he's got on Malamar really does. So we do see a Great Ball coming down here. It looks like Joe has managed to go and get himself a Diancie Prism Star here. That's going to let his fighting Pokemon do an extra 20 damage for, well, until Josh gets rid of the Diancie. It's not relevant here. That Mew was going to go down to an attack from Hitmonchan anyway, but it's still nice to have it there. Now, we do see Cynthia and Caitlin. Joe drops an Ordinary Rod there. And he's going to draw 3 cards. It doesn't... Did he get a supporter card back? Not sure that he did. Maybe had a Cynthia. Either way, he gets some Minccino down. Remember, he can evolve that into Cinccino, discard a card from his hand, draw 2 cards. That's his draw engine he's going to use going through the rest of the game. So that's kind of lovely. That's going to help him out. And now we see, yeah, the Mew does go down. Josh knew the Mew was going down. That extra energy on it really was just to feed the discard. And now we see that Lily's Pokédoll going up. Again, had Joe chosen to put that up earlier and then had to put it on the bottom of his deck to get Hitmonchan out, would he have it now? Probably not. Now, the good news is that Mew going down does activate the Lucky Egg, which is going to give Josh 7 cards in his hand. Then, of course, he draws for turn to get 8 cards in his hand. And now he really is in a good position. He discards the Giratina using his Mysterious Treasure. In theory, that should get him his second Malamar, assuming it's not prized. If he doesn't grab the Malamar here, that is a dead giveaway the Malamar is prized. There is nothing else he needs right now other than that Malamar. Because then he uses Giratina's ability to pop it, there it is, to pop it on the bench, dropping 1 damage counter onto each of 2 of Joe's bench Pokemon, double Malamars, and then attaches from hand, and he's got Giratina ready to roll. Of course, Giratina ain't taking no prizes. Not as it stands at the moment. Now, we do see an Acrobike there. Let's Josh look at the top 2 cards of his deck, puts 1 in his hand, and discards the other one. He does need an energy in hand. He's got the double. Oh, he has to drop a Spell Tag. You don't want to drop Spell Tag. Spell Tag's great. Spell Tag, when attached to a Psychic Pokemon, which is like Joe's deck, Josh's deck, sorry, and in that Psychic Pokemon is KO'd, you get to drop 4 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon any way you like. That is a good thing. Not for you, less so for your opponent. Now, Pokemon Catcher, this is a big flip. Oh, it's Tails. Remember, Josh isn't taking any prizes off of that Lily's Pokédoll. Heads on that catcher could have allowed him to take out the Hitmonchan or the Oranguru or even the Minccino, any of them. And that would have been awesome. So he does get the Giratina here. Gets to drop a couple of damage down. But still doesn't leave anything in the active. Well, nothing in the active is going to give up a prize. Pops 1 on the Hitmonchan, 1 on the Oranguru. Can't argue with that too much. Hitmonchan's got 90 HP. So that Hitmonchan still has 20 before it gets KO'd. Couple more Giratina will do it. And that's one of the things Josh is going to be trying to do here. Is try and make sure that that Hitmonchan gets KO'd with Giratina. We did see a Marnie there from Josh, incidentally. He wants to try and make sure that Giratina's ability KOs that Hitmonchan. That gets him a prize out of turn. So rather than just KOing the active, he actually gets a prize without doing that. That is a really good thing to look out for. Now, the really upsetting thing here, of course, when Giratina attacks, you've got to drop 4 damage counters on one of your Pokemon. So even though he isn't taking a KO here, he's still got to drop 4 damage counters on his Nihilego while taking out a Pokemon that doesn't give up a prize. It's a little bit of a kick in the teeth, if I'm honest. Now, Joe plays his own Pokemon catcher, and that is a Heads. That's a Malamar. Oh, that's not ideal. That is not ideal. Well, it's ideal for Joe, I suppose, not ideal for Josh. Now, of course, he does get the Malamar without the Air Balloon. Remember, this format is 2 of each card, which means Josh can have no more than 1 Air Balloon left in his deck, assuming it isn't prized. So that Malamar is going to be very difficult to get out the active. Oh, that's awkward. Now we see a Resource Management getting a Cynthia and Caitlin, Lily's Pokédoll, and a Pokemon Catcher. And it's hard to think of 3 better options there. We do see a Quick Ball coming down. It's going to get presumably another Giratina. Because Josh again, he's going after that Hitmonchan, you would think. But that's devastating. The Pokemon Catcher Head sucked. The having a KO a Lily's Pokédoll so you don't get a prize sucked. Seeing them both go back into Joe's deck So you've then got to deal with that again? That really sucks. Now, we do see an energy attachment onto the Malamar. One saving grace here. Malamar only has a retreat cost of 2. So one more manual attachment and Josh will be able to retreat. But he's giving Joe several turns of resource management. I mean, does Joe even need to resource management here? Or he's giving Joe a free hit on the Malamar. Either way, that ain't too bad. Either way, I think he'll take that. And it's early doors, but Joe seems to kind of be in control of this. Now, we do see Farfetch go down. Farfetch is a sneaky good Pokemon here. It's one of the ones... Now, I know Joe did a genuine... he actually sat down and did a proper meta-analysis of this format. Still waiting to see when that's going to be posted, Joe. Hint, hint. But you do 90 damage for a single energy on a basic. If there is a Pokemon tool attached to the defending Pokemon, that's enough to KO a Malamar with an air balloon. Or a Malamar with a spell tag. Except before you do damage, you KO. So the spell tag doesn't actually get activated. You get rid of the spell tag while taking a KO. It's kind of wonderful. Now, the good news, I love this play from Josh here. So he plays down Viridian Forest and then discards Giratina to search out an energy. Of course, we know you never want to bench the Giratina. Giratina wants to go into your discard pile, and then it comes out using its ability to drop damage. Now, we do get the second... Okay, this is looking better for Josh now. So now he gets to retreat the Malamar manually, pops the Giratina into the active. He's going to be able to get that Giratina from the discard pile. Oh! Actually chooses to double Malamar onto Malamar, and I see where he's going here. He's basically going, no. Not falling for that again. He's making sure that if Joe does hit heads on a Pokemon catcher, he's already got the energy ready to go. One thing to remember here, Malamar can only accelerate energy to benched Pokemon, which means once Malamar's in the active, you can't accelerate any energy to it to help it retreat faster. When it's on the bench, you totally can. So I love what Josh has done here in terms of making sure both those Malamar are essentially immune to Pokemon Catcher. Now, we do see Adventure Bag here coming down, and we get an air balloon, and I missed what that other tool was. Oh, it's a Beast type. Ha! But he's just using it as Viridian Forest fodder. He's just using it as something to discard to then grab an energy. Beast type does extra damage for each prize card you've taken on an Ultra Beast. Joe, I love he's got it in there. And I love that it's an option for Buzzwole, but it's not really going to help out too much here. It's because remember, Buzzwole, you really only want to be attacking when you've got 4 prizes remaining. So Beast type's only adding like 20 damage, which is fine. But suffice to say, it's for when you really need to go 120 to 140. Now, to be fair, it would take a Buzzwole. Well, if your opponent's got 4 prizes remaining, so I suppose you can have taken far more. It will take a Buzzwole into KOing a Giratina, but it's just awkward. It's just awkward. Now, we do see Martial Arts Dojo coming down here. Joe is not behind on prizes, so it'll only add an extra 10 damage. So we see 40 here from the Hitmonchan. It's not ideal, unfortunately, especially when you consider Giratina resists fighting. So it's only actually doing 20. That's a problem. Going back to the Beast type thing, you would actually need to be adding 3 damage in order to get a KO on a Giratina with a Buzzwole with a Beast type. It's just getting awkward. It really is getting awkward. Or I suppose 1 damage if you're also using Diancie Prism Star. So I think Joe is just going to do his thing here. I think he's just going to go the Hitmonchan, Hitmonlee, Hitmontop combo. Those Giratina are going to be a pain in the neck. They are going to really be annoying. But everything else on Josh's side of the field ain't so big, ain't so bulky, ain't so difficult to KO. So it does make it more... It does make it more beneficial, shall we say. It means, and especially that Hitmontop, and don't sleep on the fact that Malamar has 3 damage on. Because that means a Hitmontop will KO it. Hitmontop will also take down that Nihilego at this stage. Yeah. Don't think Joe's not setting that up, ladies and gentlemen. I promise you he knows that he's left 2 Pokemon in Hitmontop range. Josh doesn't really have the trick so much. He's got Giratina. He smashes with Giratina. Nihilego's great at copying any attack if your opponent's got 2 prize cards remaining. And he's got... There's another Ultra Beast in there, which again is limited to a certain time. It's not ideal. It's fun. It's not always going to work. Now, we do see the Giratina coming down here. It's not going to quite KO the Hitmonchan, unfortunately. But it's not far off. Oh, and he does get Recycle Energy. That's actually really big. Because with 2 Malamar down, every time a Giratina gets KO'd, he recovers Giratina using the ability. And he hits for... Sorry, Malamar's twice to get the energy. And then he's got Recycle Energy in hand, ready to go. That is incredibly relevant. That is a large hand of cards Josh is amassing there. But he's got pretty much everything he needs. He's got that Nihilego set up for later. He's got that Giratina attacking. He's got a second Giratina. He's got double Malamar. One thing to bear in... Okay. Now, looks like he previously recovered that Beastite using Oranguru. Or he's got a second one, which is probably more likely. So now he's actually rolling. Remember what I said? Now, he's going to need Diancie. Oh, no, he's not. He's not going to need Diancie because of the 2 damage already on Giratina. So, and he's got B-String? He's actually got B-String rolling here. Oh, he does have B-String. So now his opponent's got 4 prizes remaining. So he's able to do 120 with Buzzwole. Add the 10 for Beastite is 130. Minus the 20 for Resistance is 110. Plus the 20 already on Giratina is a KO there. And we are absolutely rocking and rolling here. That is a good position for Joe to be in. He's still only just evened up the prizes. And the thing Joe's got to worry about here is that Josh can just be taking a prize every turn. That's the issue. Now, we do see the Hitmonchan go down here. Because remember, the Giratina got KO'd last turn, which means Josh can't recover it from the discard pile to the bench, dropping 1 damage on the Hitmonchan. I told you that would need to happen. And that means that there is a KO there on the Hitmonchan, which is a big problem for Joe. So now Josh is down to 3 prizes remaining. And I said that that's what he was going to need to try and put the prize race in his favour. And it worked. It worked beautifully. So down comes the quick ball. There's very little Josh really needs here. Although... What's he got? I have no idea. We didn't see it. He's still got 1 bench space remaining. I mean, Josh really does seem to now be in control of this first game. He's got his Giratina essentially ready to go. He's got the double Malamar. He's got the Recycle Energy. And he's taking a prize every turn. One of the things that Josh's deck... Joe's... There's too many J people in this tournament. One of the things that Joe's deck does so well is those little tricks, setting up with Hitmonlee and Hitmontop. One of the things Joe's deck does not do well is big one-hit KOs. Big one-hit KOs can be a problem for Joe's deck. I mean, we saw what it took last turn to get rolling. He needed a Beastite after having done the 20 damage. Josh is now down to 2 prizes remaining. I mean, Joe does have Lily's Pokédoll, and maybe that can propel him to victory, but I think we are in the final moments of Game 1 here. I think it's fair to say that Josh is going to take Game 1. I'm not seeing much of an opportunity for Joe to come back here. Because the problem is, I look at Josh's board, and I'm like, that's where his last 2 prizes come from. It's not like Joe's taking a KO even if he's got Chinchino and an energy this turn. He'll do 40 damage and accelerate an energy. He does play the Cynthia, which is good. That's going to get him a new hand of 6 cards. That's going to be helpful. But he needs to be setting up, dropping a Hitmontop attack right now would take out the Giratina, take out the Nihilego, and take out the Malamar. The problem is he has to attack with Hitmonchan. Then he has to attack with Hitmonlee, which incidentally would take out the benched Malamar, the one with no damage on, and then Hitmontop would win the game. Joe can win the game in 3 turns. If he Hitmonchans this turn, Hitmonlee's next turn to KO the benched Malamar, and then uses Hitmontop to take out Nihilego, Giratina, and Malamar, that will win Joe the game. I'm not sure he's going to get this turn and 2 more, though. And bearing in mind, it's not just having this turn and then 2 more. He's got a Hitmonchan this turn, then Hitmonlee next turn, then Hitmontop the turn after. There is no room for error here. Joe has got... And now that is the route to victory. Joe can take 4 prizes in 3 turns. But in amongst that, he's also got to have his Lily's Pokédoll, so that Lily's Pokédoll can go in the active, so Josh isn't taking a KO. Now, the other thing to think of here, of course, is Giratina's self or friendly damage actually becomes extremely relevant here. Because what we see is Joe having a Pokemon that can spread 60 to everything. And Josh is constantly dropping 40 damage on his own Pokemon. If he drops 40 on a Malamar, boom, it's in range of Hitmontop. Oh, now Joe does have Stack Attacker here, but he can't use B-String. Stack Attacker is really, I believe, why B-String is in the deck. Yes, it's fine, but on Buzzwole, but it's really here for Stack Attacker. Now, it's got the ability Wall of Stone. If your opponent has 3 or fewer prize cards remaining, the maximum HP is 200. Keeps it out of range of Giratina. And then free energy, it does 110, and flip a coin till you get tails. For each heads, discard the top card of your opponent's deck. I did get this in if anyone's ever played the 1-pack Pick'em, where you basically play a little tournament with a single pack of cards, I did draw Stack Attacker while playing that format once, and wrecked. You can't deck out in that format, but I had 200 HP. Come at me, bro. Come at me. It was awesome. But in this kind of format, it needs B-String, and Joe is out of time for B-String. B-String is when your opponent has 3 or 4 prize cards remaining. Josh has 2. B-String's off. Fun little side note here. If Josh had, in fact, not been able to engineer the KO on the benched Hitmonchan using Giratina's ability, Joe would potentially be able to B-String here, and then he would do exactly the right amount of damage to get a KO on that Giratina, and things would be looking very different. Now, the other question, of course, how does Joe get out the active? Does he just feed Josh a prize? We've not banned Reset Stamp in this format, although, to be honest, the only thing Josh needs right now is Gusting. It's the only thing that's relevant. Because as it stands at the moment, he's got the Giratina, he's got the Recycle Energy, he's got the Malamar. Joe is looking to take 4 to 5 prizes in 1 turn in a moment. That Hitmontop will win him the game. But he's got to get round to the Hitmontop attack. And he hasn't even done the Hitmonchan attack yet. Fingers crossed. So, down comes the Super Rod, or Ordinary Rod as it is. 2 Pokemon, 2 energy back in your deck. Or any combination thereof. Now, oh, Mew. Mew would be such a play right now. And I said this like right at the beginning of this game. I told you right at the beginning of this game that Mew is huge, and he's got it because he's got Pokemon communication. So Giratina Prism Star goes back into the deck. You know he's getting Mew from this. He's already got the Mew from this. And now bench damage is turned off, and Joe scoops. Joe literally scoops. Second the Mew hit the field, Joe's like, nope, I'm out. Joe knew as well as we did. His only hope for victory in that game was Hitmontop. As soon as Mew came down turning off Hitmontop, that was it. Game over, man. Game over. So moving over into game 2, yes, obviously I cut out the in-between round shuffling mostly because we don't need that. That was a fun game. It really looked like Joe was in control. Then it looked like Josh could barely lose. Then it went round to Joe having this really awesome combo that he might be able to pull off, actually be able to dig out a win right at the last minute. And then Josh was just like Mew, and Joe was like, yeah, okay, I'm done, I'm out. Unless there was something else, but I would like to think at this stage that if there was anything else, one of them would have told me about this. Oh my goodness. What an end to the game. That was very, very strange. Oh, fun times, ladies and gentlemen. Fun times. Right. So, looks like Joe is off here. We got an Inkay in the active for Josh. Joe has got himself a Hitmonchan, and he's actually using an adventure bag here to grab himself a Vitality Band. And I'm assuming an air balloon? Vitality Band, remember, just does an extra 10 damage. One of the things we'll see with Joe's deck, we got Diancie, we got Vitality Band, we got Martial Arts Dojo, we've got Beastite. Joe knows that his damage output for his deck is a little bit lower than some of the other decks in this tournament, so he's covering for it. He's making sure that actually, don't worry your pretty little heads about it, I've got this, because I can just go ahead and use my other tricks to try and make sure that I've actually got everything that I need here, trying to get the KO. Now, we do see an energy on that Inkay, and that Inkay's under threat right now. If Joe drops Diancie Prism Star, he'll actually be doing 60 damage and getting a KO on that Inkay. That Inkay is not long for this game. And in fact, Josh needs a basic in the worst way. Once again, look at Joe's setup without having used a supporter. That's kind of nuts. So there's a Professor Magnolia. Oh! Loses a Pokemon catcher, loses a couple of supporters, loses a Malamar. That is a horrible discard. But to be clear, he had to do that. Joe is a Diancie Prism Star away from winning this game. Josh knows it, Joe knows it, I know it, you know it, and if you didn't, I told you, so now you do know it. This game is over if Josh doesn't get another basic. Unless somehow... Has he still not got a basic? He must have a basic. I'm not sure he does. Okay, there we go. I was going to say he had to have something. So he does have a mysterious treasure. That's going to go and get himself a basic Pokemon. That's all right. He does, incidentally, that Inkay does have Hypnosis. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now asleep. So he has got that he can use to try and slow Joe down a little bit. Maybe the Hitmonchan doesn't wake up and can't attack, so then Joe would have to flip heads and have Diancie Prism Star to win the game. So it's not the... there was an option. Even if Josh didn't have another basic, there was an option here. I'm not saying a good option. Nobody... Nobody really wants to... You know, nobody wants to be flipping for sleep to decide who wins the game and who doesn't. They really don't. However, needs must, ladies and gentlemen. Needs must. Now, he does get himself a second Inkay. Josh here is thinking basically what we are, which is just, really? I Professor Magnolia'd a bunch of stuff away, which I didn't want to do, incidentally. I'm basically leaving my Inkay up as a sacrificial lamb, unless somehow I can cross my fingers and my opponent flips tails on Hypnosis, and I still don't even have a good setup to show for it. I know we're only a couple turns in, but one of these players has started this game way better than the other. Now, he does drop the Mew, and there was a bit of hesitation there, and there probably should be a bit of hesitation. Because one of the things that Josh is thinking there is, well, hang on a second. If I drop the Mew now, and Joe Pokemon catches it and KOs it, what are the chances I can recover it? And then actually get it going. Like, recover it and then get it in the active. Oh, sorry, get it on the bench. Now, he does get Lunala Prisms. I actually really like this. I do really like this. Because it's just a big HP. It's a high HP Pokemon. It's got 160 HP. Is it? It's not got enough energy on to do much of anything. Can accelerate energy, to be fair. For 1 energy, it lets you accelerate 1 energy from your discard to your Pokemon for each Pokemon your opponent's got in play. So that would now be 3 energy. But mostly here, it's just Josh really needs those 2 Inkay and that Mew. It's something that can take a hit. I like, if he can get enough energy in the discard here, he could, you know, that's 4 energy now he can potentially accelerate using Lunala. So, yes, it's there as a bit of a sponge, but don't underestimate the fact that this could be really good for accelerating energy. It could really help. Fingers crossed, I suppose, if you're rooting for Josh. So, that Hitmonchan is currently hitting 50. The bench consists of a Hitmontop with an air balloon, a Stack Attacker with an energy, and a Minccino. And yeah, it is just 50 damage done to Lunala. 30 because of the resistance. I should have said that. There is a resistance here. So, Viridian Forest goes down. Joe needs to get rid of his martial arts dojo. And there we go. And, yeah, I like this. Yeah, I was going to say, he's not going to shuffle his energy back in, is he? No, okay. For a terrifying moment there, I thought Josh was going to shuffle his energy back into his deck, and I was like, well, hang on a second. I wouldn't do that. Because you're going to literally just attach it with Lunala now. The other thing is, Josh needs something to attach it to. I suppose he could attach it to his own Lunala and just use Lunala as an attacker. 4 energy, 20 damage for each energy attached to all Pokemon. So if he can get, say, 4 energy onto that Lunala, then there'd be 6 energy on the field in total. He'd be doing 120. It would work. But I rather think having a Giratina would be a better option here. Plus, who knows if that Lunala is going to be there next turn? It probably will. I do like how Joe's rolling with a Stack Attacker here. Again, you need to bring it out when your opponent's at 3 prizes or fewer. You don't want to bring it out too early when it's only got, well, when it doesn't have 200 HP. But it's nice to have it there on the bench ready to go. And Joe can just leave it and see if he draws a B-string later. He can just leave it there and use it if he draws a B-string. If he draws a B-string while Josh has 3 or 4 prizes remaining. So there does go the Giratina. Playing it from his hand. Doesn't want to play it from his hand, let's be clear. But what more can he do? And then we see Lunala's Full Moon Star. He can get 4 energy. Looks like there's only 3 in his discard. So they all just go straight on to Giratina. And I like this. It means he's got a Giratina rolling with enough energy without using Malamar. And considering the start Josh had, he ain't in a bad position here. That Malamar he lost early has been put back into his deck. Of course, one of the things both players need to be careful of here, or at least acknowledge, is Josh has already played an Ordinary Rod. So, if that Mew goes down, There is only one ordinary rod in Josh's deck that can be used to get the Mew back, and he's got to get the ordinary rod, then he's got to get the Mew out and on his bench, and then if Joe can take it down a second time, that's it, and it's gone. And that Mew is what won Josh the last game. We will never know how those last few turns would have played out, but it looked like Joe was stalling, and if he'd have found like a Lily's Pokédoll, I think he probably would have been able to pull it off and win game 1. So you got to think that that Mew is huge to Josh. Now the question is, does Joe have a Hitmonlee? No. So he's still just going Hitmonchan. 50 damage. Well, no, sorry. Not even 50 damage. Now 20 damage. 30 base, plus 10 for Vitality Band, minus 20 for resistance. Goes down to 20. So that Lunala can take a hit. Maybe he should have been. Maybe he should have put those free energy on Lunala and started trying to sweep with Lunala a little bit. But then all it takes is a stack attacker taking it down and then it all goes wrong. But then he could potentially have Malamar to accelerate the energy to Giratina that way. I think I'd have been tempted to go Lunala Prism Star as an attacker, if I'm honest with you. Either way, we do see the damage coming down onto Lunala here. And it does actually go up to 40, 70 in total now, because the anti-Prism Star did get dropped. So we see Joe's deck doing what it does. It doesn't have Martial Arts Dojo, but he does have the Vitality Band and the anti-Prism Star, so not a bad start. Oh, Spell Tag is nice. I like the Spell Tag. Remember, Joe can get around it using Farfetch'd. But Farfetch'd only does 90 damage, so Joe would need to put 40 damage on that Giratina, and then Farfetch'd would come in and do the 90 and get the KO. Now we do see a Great Ball coming down for Josh here. Looks like he's got himself a Malamar. That's all he needs right now. He's got the Mew, he's got the Giratina, he's got the 2 Inkay. He just needs Malamar. A second Giratina wouldn't go amiss. But then again, maybe he wants to save a bench space for something like Nihilego later on. Now, he does get the Air Balloon on Lunala. Lunala's got a retreat cost of 3, but the energy in the Air Balloon will allow a retreat here. And I imagine that's what we're going to see from Josh. Interesting side note, Lunala is not currently in Hitmontop range. Lunala's got 160 HP, 70 damage on. Hitmontop dropping 60 will put it up to 130, which will not be enough to get a KO. So retreating it now before it's in KO range, I think is a bonus. Now, he actually chooses to... Okay, yeah, so he does choose to retreat the Lunala here. Thought about putting a second energy on Lunala, decided against it, put it on the Malamar, retreated the Lunala, and is able to just get a KO. And you'll see there he's having to put the energy on Giratina itself, because anything else with damage on, either of the Malamar or the Lunala Prism Star would be put into Hitmontop range using Giratina to drop the 4 damage on it. Mew wouldn't, but given how important that Mew is, do you really want it to have 20 HP remaining? Maybe you do. I am less convinced about this fact. I don't think that's quite such a great idea. So we do see a Great Ball coming down from Joe here. It is weird how Great Ball has ended up being in this format. And the reasoning is extremely simple. We're limiting you to 2 of each card. So you're only allowed to play 2 Quick Ball and 2 Evolution Incense, etc. But we're also, at the same time, limiting you to 2 of each Pokemon. 2 of each any card other than Basic Energy. So you're less likely to draw into your Pokemon naturally, or using a supporter, because there's fewer of them in your deck. But we're also limiting your options for actually playing Pokemon Search cards. So we actually do end up in a format where Great Ball becomes pretty much an instant 2 of in every deck, because it's Pokemon Search. It's not perfect. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck, find a Pokemon, put it in your hand, but it's, it's alright. So Farfetch'd does come down with an energy on. Oh, I love this play. I love this play. Retreats into Farfetch, does 90 damage, and gets rid of the spell tag. So Farfetch takes out Giratina. Joe gets a prize. Spell tag does not activate. And remember, with Giratina's ability, taking down something like a 70 HP Minccino or a 90 HP Hitmonchan would be so much easier if you are dropping damage using spell tag than if you're not. So I adore that play from Joe. That Farfetch was huge. And of course, if Josh ever puts these dudes need different names, like, I don't know, Phil and Jeremiah. You don't get them confused. But if Josh ever puts an air balloon on his Malamar, which he generally wants to give it free retreat if it's gusted in the active, Joe can then get a one-hit KO on a basic Pokemon for a single energy. And that's the dream, right? If you can get a KO using a basic Pokemon single energy, you've dedicated so few resources, and it's so easy to get those resources back to use them again in the future, and yet you've taken a prize doing so. That's the dream, ladies and gentlemen. That's the dream. So now it's regrouping for Josh. See, he needs a Giratina. Now, that's not difficult. The Giratina's a given. It's in his discard. He can use the ability to pop it on the bench, drop 2 damage counters, boom, done, Giratina. Yay! Here's the problem. He needs to get a Malamar in the active. He needs to evolve that active Inkay to a Malamar now, so he can accelerate 2 energy to a Giratina. But then he needs to retreat the Malamar, which is going to take an air balloon. But then air balloon leaves it in range of Farfetch, which he doesn't really want to do. He knows Joe plays Pokemon Catcher. But otherwise, I don't see how he gets an attack off this turn. In order to get enough energy on Giratina, he needs to double Malamar. But he needs to retreat Malamar as he puts Giratina active. And once Giratina goes active, you can't Malamar onto it. So, is this just too awkward? Is Josh just now in a position where it's not going to work? Maybe. Or does he try Hypnosis? Does he try and buy himself a turn by putting Joe's Pokemon to sleep? Maybe. Still not thinking that's the greatest idea ever, but it's certainly an option. Now, where does the damage go? Oh, onto the bigger boys, Diancie and Stack Attacker. It's just really Josh's way of saying, look, I don't think I'm going to be able to get KOs on those littler dudes. I might as well bring the bigger dudes into range. Bit sad. Now, he does actually choose to put Lunala back in the active, so just lets him accelerate 3 energy onto a Giratina. Could accelerate, and 2 onto an Oranguru. Remember, 5 Pokemon out for Joe means Lunala can accelerate 5 energy. So he does now have the energy, and with the Air Balloon energy, that does give Lunala free retreat. Of course, Lunala's not going to be able to retreat, because Farfetch'd is going to take it down. Farfetch will get a prize here. Hits for 90 damage, which annoyingly will put Lunala on exactly 160, which means Farfetch gets a KO. For what it's worth, the Air Balloon goes away just before the KO happens. I don't think that's terribly relevant, but it's still worth noting. Now, we do see Professor Magnolia coming down here. And here's the thing. In the previous game, Joe ran out of options. He lost because he was basically trading KOs, and Josh's deck is better than Joe's at trading KOs. That's why Joe lost. What can you do game 2? The Mew's down. And here's the thing. Josh's setup has been nuts. both games. I mean, okay, he doesn't have to recycle energy here, but he's got Malamar, he's got Inkay, he's got a free energy Giratina, he's got the Mew, he's got Lunala in the active, he's got Inkay on the bench. Having said that, Joe is about to take his second prize and go into the lead just using Farfetch, so can he just Farfetch to victory? Can he fetch victory using that plucky little duck with a leak? There does go the Malamar, incidentally. Maybe he can. I mean, you'll notice there's 2 energy on that Stack Attacker plus a Beastite. And we got Diancie Prism Star down. So as it seems at the moment, that Stack Attacker's actually doing 150. Oh, I think I see where Joe's going with this. He's going to build up a Stack Attacker to one-hit KO Giratinas. And I think it's going to work. Now, as it stands, he's doing 150. Even when you take away the resistance, that Stack Attacker will be getting a one-hit KO on Giratina. Could this work? I think this might work. Now, the thing to remember is that when Josh has more than 3 prizes remaining, Stack Attacker's maximum HP is only 120. It is in Giratina range. So I think he's got to wait until Josh is down to 3 prizes remaining. When Josh goes down to 3 prizes remaining, Joe can then get 2 KOs in a row with Stack Attacker without giving up a prize in between, which is huge. I think that's got to be Joe's thinking here. If he can just keep doing his thing and try and take a couple more KOs and really just stop Josh getting too good stuff going before he's down to 3 prizes. Now in comes Giratina to finally take down Farfetch, but as is a tradition with first-person shooters, Farfetch took down 2 Pokemon before he went down. So yeah, the KD ratio there, totally in favor of Farfetch'd. Totally in favor of Farfetch'd. So, Joe, he can get a KO on the Giratina now using Stack Attacker. That is absolutely possible. That Stack Attacker is hitting exactly 130 damage with resistance, so he can get the KO. The KO isn't the problem. The problem is he's still in Giratina range, and if Josh is able to get Energy Malamar, that's it. He's got the KO on... And let's be clear, right? Joe is not getting free energy on a Stack Attacker unless he drops a B-String. But as soon as Josh takes a prize, Joe can't use B-String. Oh, yes, he can. Sorry, it's 3 or 4 prizes remaining. Now, I do like Joe's playing Rosa here. Rosa's great in this format. Remember, we're not allowing any GXs or Vs or VMAXs, which means every Pokemon has to be a single prize Pokemon, which means that your opponent's got to take 6 KOs to win the game, more than that when you bring in Lily's Pokédoll, and Rosa lets you search for a trainer card and an energy in a Pokemon when you had a Pokemon KO the previous turn. Actually, Joe could here, he could go for a B-String, knowing he can use it. Looks like instead he's gone for Beastite, and it's hard to argue with that. Yeah, he doesn't need the B-String. We saw that last game. It wasn't necessary. This I love. Oh, I'd still like the B-String to attack next turn, but yeah, I see what Joe's doing here, and this is working beautifully. So now Buzzwole takes down the Giratina. Joe goes down for 3 prizes remaining. Josh now has to try and take out that Buzzwole, but as soon as he does take down that Buzzwole, that will activate Stack Attacker's ability. Joe adds a 3rd energy onto Stack Attacker, and all of a sudden, that's basically game? Well, I suppose it was still only put Joe to 1 prize remaining, but still. And that's assuming that Josh KOs the Stack Attacker in 2 hits, which he might not be able to pull off. Now, Blacephalon is the other. I did mention there was a 2nd Ultra Beast in Josh's deck. It is the lovely Blacephalon. Now, this one, if your opponent has exactly 3 prize cards remaining, for 2 energy, you drop 12 damage counters. And oh, look, Josh has exactly 3 prize cards remaining. Yeah. So I love this. Question is, where are those 12 damage going to go? And unless Josh doesn't have any energy in his hand, he's fine. Because he can attach energy for turn. Oh, okay. So he needs energy or Malamar. Either of them will get the requisite energy on the Blacephalon to get a KO here. Either of those would be fine. And then once he does that, he gets a KO. Well, it depends what he goes for. Oh, it's Stack Attacker. It's obviously Stack Attacker. You drop 12 damage counters onto Stack Attacker here and take it out before it becomes a big issue. I'm sitting here trying to do the sums in my head. No. Stack Attacker is about to become a huge problem. It's got 120 HP. Drop 12 damage counters on and KO it before it becomes a problem. Because once it's... If Josh takes another prize, that Stack Attacker's taking minimum 2 prizes. Minimum 2 prizes. It's got 200 HP and it's hitting for... Well, it'll be hitting for 110 plus 24 Diancie is 130 plus 30 for the Beastite is 160. And that's unless we get Martial Arts Dojo rolling as well. And there's nothing Josh can really do to one-hit KO it. It's weak to Grass, incidentally. If it was weak to Psychic, maybe. But it's not. So, does he have the energy? Because if he's got the energy onto Blacephalon to take out the Stack Attacker, that's got to be the play. He's got 1 Malamar, so assuming he's got an energy in the discard, which you'd imagine he does, he needs either a second Malamar, Air Balloon's ready to retreat it for free, or an energy from hand, but he's taking a very long time to do this. Now, he does have a Mimikyu there, which uses Copycat. Oh, but he doesn't have it. He doesn't have the energy. So he just filches to draw 2 cards. And that's it. Because now the Mimikyu's going to go down. Which turns off Mimikyu. Turns off Blacephalon. And puts Joe 2 prizes away from winning the game. I don't see how Josh is going to do it. The thing is, he can't even, say, copy a Hitmontop's attack using Nihilego, because Hitmontop's attack only works if you use Hitmonlee's attack last turn, which obviously Josh didn't. Oh, things are getting rough, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we do see an Ordinary Rod coming down, getting back a Cinccino and a couple of energy. I mean, we are quite far into Game 2 here, and we have not actually seen Joe get a Cinccino rolling at all. We've seen Josh go and get the Oranguru to give a little bit of extra added consistency there, but we've not actually seen a Cinccino from Joe at all in this game so far. So, honestly here, Joe doesn't need to worry. He can poke. Oh, he's actually working on a second Stack Attacker. I love that. He can poke with Buzzwole, or he can poke with Hitmonchan, or... He's not even using Lily's Pokédoll here, because he just plain doesn't need to. So he does drop a card to draw 2 with Cinccino. He's got a little marker there to show that he's used the ability. Now, if he can take out that Mimikyu, which he can, he's doing enough damage there. Yeah. So the Mimikyu had 70 HP. Buzzwole was doing 30, plus 30 for the prize he's taken, plus 20 for the Diancie. And now I don't really see how Joe loses this. I think that's basically wrapped up Game 2 for Joe. Because the thing here, all that's going to happen is, no matter what Josh does, Joe's taking 2 prizes with Stack Attacker. And Joe's not playing Lily's Pokédolls, not room for it in his deck. So, and he can't one-hit KO Stack Attacker. Even copying any attack from anywhere on Joe's side of the field, there is nothing any of Joe's Pokemon have got that Josh can copy with Nihilego to KO Stack Attacker. Man, this is an Ultra Beast heavy game. Each player is playing 2 Ultra Beasts. Buzzwole and Stack Attacker for Joe, Blacephalon and Nihilego for Josh. But I don't see how he wins this. Looks like we've got a hypnosis coming. Which does, mean we're going to have a coin flip for sleep. Wrong way, Joe. Does wake up. Should have gone the other way. It is sleep has L in it first, so you turn it to the left. Paralysis has has R in it first, so you turn it to the right. No. Yes, that is correct. Sleep to the left because of the L. Paralysis to the right because of the R. But now I don't see a roadmap for Josh to come back from this. It looks like we're going to be heading into game 3 here. Because I know we did see a beast ring there coming down onto the bent stack attacker. And he doesn't actually have a beast type on, and he's got, oh my goodness, both stack attacker have free energy on here. And even without that beast type, I suppose stack attacker's only hitting 110 against Giratina because of resistance, but I don't see it. I really don't see it. That one prize card is going to be too easy for Joe to take at this stage. I just don't think Josh has got what he needs for this. I don't think there's anything Josh can do to win this game. Unless, I don't know, a catcher stall on a Diancie Prism Star. Gust up Diancie, hope Joe doesn't have enough energy to retreat it, never attack. Joe decks out, Josh wins. Although it looks like Josh's deck might be a little bit lower than Joe's at this stage. But I think this is a point in the game where you scoop. I think this is a point in the game where you go, no, you know what, boys? I'm done here. I'm out. I'm done. Scoop. Scoop! Oh, we do see Pokemon Catcher, though. And we see a heads. Maybe I'm being dumb. It's got to be Diancie. Highest retreat cost of a Pokemon with no energy. Yeah. Okay, maybe the scoop call was too early. Oh, I like this. Now look, he's only dropping 4 damage counters with Blacephalon if he gets a second energy on. Oh, he's got it. And dropping 4 damage counters ain't much, but in the absence of any other plan, do it. Why not? Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but okay, and there's the air balloon on Diancie, so that is it. He's able to retreat to Stack Attacker, and Stack Attacker takes a KO on the Blacephalon, so Joe goes ahead and takes Game 2 with Ultra Beast and Stack Attacker. When was the last time you saw that Stack Attacker putting in any work? So now we are over to Game 3. Again, we've skipped to the in-between game shuffling. You don't need to see it, and I don't need to show you. So we come down here, and we got a Minccino start for Joe, and we've got a Nihilego start for Josh. Nihilego, not the worst starter ever, actually, in these games. Because single energy and instant confusion and poison. Not terrible. I mean, as far as single energy attacks on a basic go, that ain't too bad at all. In the early game. Like, if you're using that mid to late game, you're doing the whole, if he flips 4 tails on confusion, I win, and nobody wants that strategy. If you're ever in a situation where you're crossing your fingers your opponent flips tails on confusion, you've probably pretty much already lost the game. Oh, now this isn't the same. Because as it was a moment ago, we saw Joe going second a couple of times. First. We saw Joe going first. And he was able to get all kinds of Pokemon out and tools and all sorts of fun stuff. Well, actually, why not? You know, Josh didn't get that. Josh has got a Nihilego of an energy. That's it. That's all we've got. It's not the same, ladies and gentlemen. Now remember, we are at 1 game each here, so this is basically it, right? Whoever wins this game is going to be playing David in the final. And once again, Joe is just off. He's got his Lily's Pokédoll. He's got the Hitmonchan with the energy. He's got the martial arts dojo. He is going to need a way to get that Minccino out the active if he's going to start attacking. But he's even got the Lily's Pokédoll down. So if he can get the air balloon, for instance, get Minccino out the active, he can attack for 40 with Hitmonchan, 30 and then the 10 for martial arts dojo, and even pop a Lily's Pokédoll in the active ready to wait it out. So I like this. I really like what Joe's got going on here. His deck is rolling very consistently. We've seen Josh in both games get to a really strong setup, although the second Malamar did take a while in game 2. But his starts haven't always been that speedy. Now, here's the thing. We saw Joe narrowly lose game 1 trying to set up the Hitmon top play. Game 2, he managed to basically go full bore Ultra Beast and win in that way. How's he going to play at game 3? He's got the Hitmonlee and the Hitmonchan down, but is it just because that's what he managed to draw into? I mean, which way does he go here? What's the play? Does he go for, I know, let's go for the Hitmons? Or does he instead go, actually, no, you know what? The Ultra Beast won me last game, let's do this. Now, good news is Joe has a Mew down with an air balloon. Good news is Joe gets a Professor Magnolia. This is nice. Now he gets the Oranguru. Remember, Oranguru's got that awesome ability, lets you swap the top card of your deck with one of your cards in your hand. So you've got to put a card down, but it just lets you draw a card. Especially if it's something like an evolution or an energy you don't need till next turn anyway. It basically lets you see one card one turn early. It's not just drawing a card. On a basic, that would be nuts. We see it on Sawsbuck, who's a stage 1. But then again, what's really cool here is if you can do what Josh is doing, where he plays a Quick Ball, he drops an energy, uses Quick Ball to search for a Pokemon, but now you see, that card that Josh had to draw into next turn is now shuffled into his deck, so he's managed to draw a card, and he isn't stuck into drawing the card he just put on top of the deck. So it's a really fun combo. I mean, what you really love is things like Makago searches out any card from your deck, puts it on top, and then you nab it with Oranguru. Or Torkoal does extra damage if there is a fighting energy on top of your deck when you discard the top card of your deck. So you use Oranguru to put a fire energy on top of your deck so you know you're going to be discarding it. Or that new Nugget card, when you draw into it, you get to draw 3 cards. If it's the first card you draw during your turn. So if you draw into it at any other time, you use Oranguru to put it on top of your deck. And then you definitely draw it at the beginning of your next turn. Now, we do see Nihilego being used here. Joe just evolves out of it. We did see 10 damage being dropped by Poison, but Joe just evolves out of the confusion. He's probably going to try and retreat. Does play an Ordinary Rod here. Oh no, sorry, drops an Ordinary Rod with Cinccino to draw 2 cards. Now, what was really funny, back in the early parts of the game, we see an adventure bag coming down here. In the early days of the game, when you were confused, you had to flip a coin in order to retreat, and if tails, the retreat failed, we'd see an Air Balloon and a Vitality Band. Probably could have seen them coming. Air Balloon for Cinccino to retreat, Vitality Band for Hitmonchan to do extra damage. But you had to discard the energy before you flipped for retreating. So in the early days of the game, back when it first launched, confusion was huge, because if you tried to retreat out of confusion and flip tails, you just discarded energy to pay your retreat cost, and nothing happened. Fun times. Not for the people trying to retreat, of course, but for the people doing the confusion. So now this is exactly what we would expect. Cinccino retreats, up goes Hitmonchan, who'll hit for 50. Extra 10 for the Martial Arts Dojo, extra 10 for the Vitality Band. Oh, take that back. 70? because extra 20 for the Diancie Prism Star that just came down. And then presumably he will go to the bench and whack Clefairy active, or Lily's Pokédoll. So 30 base, plus 10 for the Martial Arts Dojo, plus 10 for the Vitality Band, plus 20 for Diancie. That's going to be 70 damage. That ain't bad. And this is what we were talking about earlier. This is what Joe's deck does. Joe's deck is very into, hey, let's do extra damage. Why do the stated amount of damage when I could do more than the stated amount of damage? Just makes sense. So no, I'm liking this, ladies and gentlemen. Again, we're not doing a giant one-hit KOs, but maybe he's got a very, very long, slow stack attacker coming out. Or maybe he's gonna actually get... We still haven't seen Hitmontop working. We still haven't actually seen Hitmontop get rolling here. I mean, come on, it's a best of 3. You've got to think at some point it's going to happen. Now, we do see a Cynthia and Caitlyn coming down, discards the Marnie, gets back a Lily, and then draws 3 cards. So I suppose would rather have Lily than Marnie. And just wants to draw those 3 cards. You see, the thing is, we're a few turns in here and Josh has got nothing rolling. Like, nothing at all. He has 1 Malamar, but he hasn't even got his second Inkay. He's got no really viable attacker. He's got his Oranguru, which is occasionally... It's getting a little bit more consistency, but not enough to really make it work. He's got a Mew that's protecting his bench, which I suppose is really helping, but it's stopping Joe rather than actually advancing his own board state. And that's what Josh needs to be doing here. He needs to be advancing his own board state. And it's not working. We've had a very slow start to this game. Neither player has really done much of anything. Joe has managed to put a whopping 70 damage on the bench. And let's not forget Josh's single poison damage. Go Josh, etc. But it's not... Neither player's really asserted themselves, but the thing to remember is that Joe is playing an awful lot of single energy basics, Josh is playing evolutions and multiple energy attackers, and Josh needs more of a setup. So once again, we got 2 energy on the Oranguru, really just trying to make sure it doesn't fall foul of that Farfetch by forcing you to pop an air balloon on. And he does get the spell tag onto Nihilego. Remember, Lily's Poke... Now, we see Lily's Pokédoll take the poison damage there as Nihilego attacks again. It's important to note, Clefairy-Doll's got 30 HP. The vast majority of the time, it's going to go down to any attack whatsoever. But it doesn't have to. So, actually, it's not going to get KO'd by poison until the end of Josh's next turn. It's not even going to get KO'd going into Josh's turn now. So that Lily's Pokédoll's buying time nicely. And Josh needs to get an attacker going here. Now, what would be awesome... I mean, Hitmonlee on the Malamar. You've got to think Hitmonlee on the Malamar here. Incidentally, that stack attack is not benched. It was discarded with Chinchino. If Joe's got an energy, I am definitely using Hitmonlee on the Malamar. Just take that Malamar out and really put Josh back. We've seen some good back and forth games so far this series, but it would be in Joe's interest here to just try and steamroll Josh as he's struggling to get set up. Maybe it is just the no Jirachi here. Oh, this I love. Okay, So what Joe's doing instead, and Joe is a phenomenal player, I'm going to believe he's right about this, he is using Tate and Liza to switch Lily's Pokédoll to the bench. Remember, you can switch, you just can't retreat. He's then going to hit with Hitmonchan again, which will do enough to KO Nihilego. So Joe's still taking a prize. Oh, what am I talking about? I'm being dumb. Sorry, those of you in the comment section. Why would I do that? Why would I do that? There's Mew on the bench. I love the idea of using Hitmonlee to take out the Malamar, but not when there's a Mew on the bench. Oh, never mind. Never mind. So now the Nihilego goes down, and the Mew comes active, but only because it's got an air balloon there to retreat. That was so dumb of me. That was so dumb of me. I could go back and edit that out, but I don't know. I like to give you guys the authentic commentary experience. Oh, dumb. So we see Pokegear coming down here. It's going to allow Josh to get himself a supporter card. Hits himself a Cynthia. It's going to let him shuffle his hand into his deck, draw 6 cards. That's going to be kind of lovely. And at least someone's taking a prize now. This game was going on for a rather long time with neither player actually taking a prize. But now Joe has been able to do it. Joe has been able to take that prize. So, yay! But Josh still has nothing. And honestly, it's only that Mew that's keeping Josh rolling. You know, I was saying earlier how bad his setup was, and I was saying, well, he's got the Mew. That Mew is keeping him in the game right now. Because if it wasn't for that Mew, Joe, I'm willing to bet, would have taken out that Malamar. And once that Malamar gets taken out, you've got to think he's attacking with Hitmontop. And that's so hard to come back from. But here's the thing. What's Josh do now? Like, seriously, what's the play? What's the goal here? What's he doing? Oh, he drops 3 damage counters with Mew. Yay! But now the Mew gets taken down. And that opens up all of Joe's options. And then it's just, I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. It's just I don't see what Josh does here. He can drop damage with a Mew, but that doesn't get him any real closer to winning. Oranguru doesn't have a good attack. He's only got 1 Malamar. He's not got any energy on his Giratina. He's finally got the second Inkane. He's finally got a Giratina. But as it stands at the moment, like before he just dropped those 2 cards, right? Before that, I'm looking at Josh's side of the board, and I just don't know what he does. I don't know how he wins. You know, I don't like to call a game when one player's taken 1 prize and the other player hasn't taken any. And I don't think you can attack with a Mew here. I don't think you can attack with a Mew. See that? He takes out the Chinchino, he takes a prize, but he cuts down the consistency. The thing is, Hitmonchan, with the Vitality Band and Diancie Prism Star, even ignoring the Martial Arts Dojo, is going to get a KO on that Mew. And then that Hitmonchan's going to take out the Malamar, and then we're going to open up Hitmontop. So, yeah. And I don't blame Josh for this, incidentally. I don't blame him for this. If you're watching, Josh, I love you. I don't blame you. But, because what else did he have? You see in game 1, where that Mew going down, that Mew coming back, literally led Joe to scoop. Joe scooped because the Mew came out. And then in game 2, Joe did take a different tact. But in game 3, he seems to be going the Hitmon route. So Mew becomes one of the most valuable cards in your entire deck. And then when that goes down, it just lets Joe run rampant. Now, Rosa, of course, very nice option. And we see there's already enough of Minchino coming down. No space on the... Oh, I would say there's no space on the field for a Hitmontop, but of course, Lily's Pokédoll's making way. So now Mew goes down to the Hitmonchan, Joe goes up 2 prizes to 1, but there's an energy on the Hitmonlee. And you know that Hitmonlee's taking out Malamar next turn. Can Josh get that Mew back this turn? Now, one saving grace, he should actually get an attack off this turn. Because he can Malamar for an energy, attach from hand, and that will be enough for the Giratina. So if he's got an energy in hand, he's attacking. But is that enough? No, he won't even up the prizes because of Lily's Pokédoll. With those 2 Lily's Pokédoll, assuming that Joe never uses resource management, that essentially gives 2 attacks, barring any Pokemon catcher, where Joe knows he's not giving up a prize. That's such an advantage. Now, we do see Mysterious Treasure coming down here. Gets rid of an Evolution Incense. So, he's going for a basic. Is he going for Malamar? Malamar, he could have just used the Evolution Incense. I'm fairly sure he only plays 1 Mew in his deck. I could be wrong, but if I'm remembering his deck list correctly, I believe he only plays 1 Mew. Okay, so he is going for a Giratina Prism Star. And like we saw with Lunala Prism Star earlier, this is a nice option just as a kind of, you know what, I can buy some time with this. It's a big, bulky Pokemon. Now, it's not a cheap Pokemon. It takes 4 energy to attack, although you can bench it with 2 energy, so that helps. It's not perfect, but it helps a lot. And then you do 160, discarding 2 energy from it, but of course you got Mewtwo, you got Malamar. So you can play it down with 2 energy on, and then Malamar onto it, and then you got 160 HP Pokemon hitting for 160, and maybe Josh is thinking here, you know what, I need a bit more bulk. I need some attackers rolling. I also need to be attacking with things that do not use... Oh, it's another Tails on Catcher! Also need to be attacking with something that does not put 4 damage counters on my Pokemon when I'm playing against a Hitmontop deck. And that catcher could have been huge. That catcher could have let him take out the Hitmonlee before he got a chance to take out Malamar next turn. So that would have been big. Now we do see Ordinary Rod coming down, getting the... Oh no, sorry, it's a Lana's Fishing Rod. Getting back a Mew and a Spell Tag. So that's nice. And then he's done it! He's actually gone and done it! He then Pokemon Communications to Pokemon back, gets the Mew right back out again. I did not think he was going to pull that off, ladies and gentlemen. I did not think he was going to be able to recover that Mew from nothing in 1 turn. Good work, Josh. I'm impressed. I am legitimately a little bit impressed. I'm a little bit impressed. I'm a little bit surprised. I'm a little bit delighted, frankly. It certainly makes the game a bit more fun, a bit more interesting. That was very well done by Josh there, to get that Mew back again. And don't think it doesn't make a huge difference. Now, Giratina comes up, but he's still not taking a prize. Like, for all the excitement we've got of, hang on a second, he's doing it, he still doesn't take a prize. He takes out a Lily's Pokédoll, and that's it. So, down comes an ordinary rod for Joe. Gets himself a Stack Attacker and a Chinchino. I mean, the thing to remember here is Josh has only taken one prize. So, what we might be seeing from Joe here is a little bit of a pivot. He was set up really nicely to start using the Hitmon plan. Ha! Hitmon plan. I'm totally using that from now on. Because it rhymes with Hitmonchan. I'm here all week. But now, it's still early enough in the game that he can pivot to, you know what, Stack Attacker, Energy, Beastite, hopefully an Ultra. Oh no, he hit Pokemon Catcher! So now he can take out the Mew! I don't think I've seen a back and forth over 160 XP Pokemon like this in quite some time. What do we think Josh's chances are of getting him back next turn straight away? Oh, poor Josh. And bearing in mind, I don't think Josh has hit heads on his Pokemon Catcher yet in this best of 3 series. Oh, that's heartbreaking. That is absolutely heartbreaking. Oh, if you're watching this, Josh, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Oh, my goodness. That was, oh, man. Now, Joe is able to play a Great Ball and get himself a Chinchino, so that's back as well. And the Stack Attacker plan is still on the table. One of the cool things about using a hit-and-run deck like Hitmonchan, especially a single energy one, you attach one energy to Hitmonchan. He doesn't really need another energy. He's already got the energy on Hitmonlee. So he does, even though it's very slow going, he's going to have some turns where he's got an energy attachment to spare that he can chuck onto a Stack Attacker. And if he ever hits a B-string, that could be, you know, he could be rolling with Stack Attacker. Now, he actually gets an energy on Diancie here, of all things, and then benches a Buzzwole. Remember, he did scoop the, well, no, sorry. In the previous game, do remember that he had the air balloon to save having to scoop because of Diancie Prism Star, and that would have ended the game, incidentally. Both these games have been very close. So, I think getting an energy on Diancie ready to retreat if need be is probably a very good idea. And now that he's got Buzzwole down, he's not going Stack Attacker. Of course, he doesn't need to yet. When Josh goes down to 4 prizes remaining, Buzzwole will be hitting 120 for a single energy, except it's 140 with Diancie. So with either that Martial Arts Dojo, which is already out, or a Vitality Band, that will then get a KO on the Giratina, even with Resistance. So, with 3 prizes already taken, Joe is very much planning on how the rest of his are coming around. And do remember, 2 of them came from you. Oh my... Go on. I have never wanted something to work so badly as this. He's managed to get an ordinary rod, and he's managed to get himself the Mew back into the deck. Can he get the Mew out of the deck? To be fair, I don't think he needs it this turn. Although, no, he might need it this turn, to be fair. Because if he doesn't take a prize, Joe can still Hitmonlee the Malamar. Remember, Joe did Hitmonchan the Mew last turn, so he will have the opportunity to Hitmonlee the Malamar this turn. And that is probably something he's going to be looking into doing if there is no, what is what I'm looking for? If there's no Mew on the bench here. So, does he have the options? What's he got? Now he is using Oranguru. Tell me it's Mew. Tell me it's Mew. Ah, it's Lunala Prism Star. I would have been so, so happy. So he does get energy on there with Malamar. Well, I mean, what does he do? Does he just... I mean, I suppose he has to. He has to just take the KO on the Lily's Pokédoll. But again, he doesn't take a prize, and he has to put 4 damage on one of his Pokemon. Or 4 damage counters. Oh, poor Josh. Those Lily's Pokédoll are just being awkward. Then you add in the Pokemon catchers that Joe's hit, and the fact that that Mew is not staying around, and it's... yeah. So harsh. And there is a Hitmonlee. Is that Hitmonlee in the active? I want to say that's Hitmonlee in the active. Which means he's going to be able to take out the Malamar. It's going to be so difficult for Josh to come back from this. Especially as Joe is going to be 3 prizes ahead. He's going to have taken 4 prizes to Josh's 1. Oh, now, I like the play from Joe here. Actually chooses to go after the Oranguru rather than the Malamar. Now, the reason for this is extremely simple. Josh put 4 damage on the Malamar using Giratina. So Joe is thinking, when I Hitmontop, that Malamar goes down. When I Hitmontop, that Oranguru does not go down. But if I Hitmonlee, it does go down. So, yeah. I think actually a very good play. Oh, we've got a Pokemon communication, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a Pokemon communication. Presumably for a Mew, and that's going to turn off that Hitmontop fun time. I just want to say this one more time. It looks like he's actually got the same Mew on the field 3 times in a single game. That's ridiculous. I mean, to be fair, he's still down by 3 prizes. It's not like the Mew is necessarily winning him the game right now, but, you know. Now, looks like Josh is actually going to be able to take a prize here. And he drops 4 damage on his own Giratina, which does leave Giratina in Farfetch'd range. So I'm assuming at this stage, Joe is probably... Is he going to be thinking Farfetch'd? Because remember, the Farfetch'd would also get rid of the spell tag, meaning that he wouldn't be taking those 4 damage counters. Oh, was he actually done? He's got B-String. He's got B-String on Stack Attacker. It's still going to take 1 more prize for Josh to actually activate Stack Attacker's ability. Remember, Stack Attacker goes up to 200 HP only when Josh has taken 3 prizes, when Josh has 3 or fewer remaining. So I think that Stack Attacker is that a next turn thing. Oh, and it's got a Beastite as well. Yeah, I mean this is so difficult for Josh here. Now what he can do is potentially hit a Pokemon. I mean, he's not been able to hit one all match so far, but if he can hit a Pokemon catcher, then he would be able to potentially take out that Stack Attacker before it got the boost in HP, and turn off that option for Joe. But does he have it? And even if he has it, can he hit it? So he has taken a prize on a Hitmontop, it looks like. Oh, no. No, I think the Hitmontop might have been discarded with the Cinccino. My apologies. But he's still got a KO. He took a KO, which is nice. Taking KOs is good. But he's still down 2 prizes. So, has Joe got the KO this turn? Oh, I'm just look at Joe's board. I mean, even if Joe does use Stack Attacker to KO the Giratina now, I'd still love to see Farfetch, but even if he uses Stack Attacker to KO the Giratina now, or is that... Oh, it's Buzzwole. My apologies, ladies and gentlemen. The glare there was... the glare is horrendous, but it looks like that was a Buzzwole KO? I want to say Buzzwole. Either way, the KO came down on the gear, and that's basically it now. Unless Josh can somehow Pokemon Catcher to KO the Stack Attacker. Because if Josh goes down to 3 prizes, Stack Attacker is just going to win the game. I mean, to be fair, even if he doesn't, Stack Attacker can KO anything. Even that Lunala Prism Star, even with resistance. That Stack Attacker with a Beastite is actually hitting 180 right now. So, I think it might be time to call the game, ladies and gentlemen. I think it might be time to call it. Joe has not been able to use Hitmontop very well at all this game. Hitmonchan's put in some work, and Hitmonlee got Oranguru that one time. But with Joe having 1 prize remaining... maybe a Pokemon Catcher on the other Stack Attacker to strand it in the active. Maybe. But it's asking so much at this stage. So much. So... now, it does look like Josh finally hit a heads-on Pokemon Catcher. Brings up the Stack Attacker. That's good. I know. I should have, I know there should have been more excitement when I announced it, but I don't think it's going to win Josh the game. Now, we do see damage being dropped by Mew here, which is nice. And we do see Hitmonchan going down. But if Joe's got any kind of switching card, it's game. Things could get interesting and spicy if he doesn't, mind you. And Joe's just looking, hang on a second, how many cards are left in my deck here? No, he is using Viridian Forest. I like that. It's going to get him an energy. He's really just filling out his deck. He's now got 1 fewer card in his deck, so he's got more chances of actually drawing into what he wants to draw into. So that's good. Like I say, a switch will end the game here. Or a Titanizer. That would also work. He would then be able to switch to the Stack Attacker, attack once, and win. Now, we do see Marnie coming down, so there's not going to be a Titanizer this turn. could there be? Remember, Stack Attacker's got a giant retreat cost. That is one of the big disadvantages we see of Stack Attacker here. What's he got? What's he got? Has he got any way to get out the active now? He's still got time. Josh has still got to take 3 prizes to win the game. And let's face it, he's dropping 4 damage counters at a time using Mew. That's not much, ladies and gentlemen. That's not much at all. So maybe... And that's the other thing. Josh is actually very close to decking out himself. Has he even got time to take 3 prizes? Oh, he's got a Cynthia and Caitlyn. Has he got a supporter card that can put anything back? He's got Marnie. Oh, so what he can do potentially here is wait until the turn he's going to deck out and then play down the Marnie. So he goes from whatever number of cards he has in his hand down to a 5-card hand and just give himself a few extra turns. That could work. But he needs to start taking KOs. I mean, that Chinchino should be 1... No, almost. Because Mew's only dropping 3 per turn. So he can take out the Chinchino and then maybe... Yeah, I mean, the other thing to remember is that since he started taking prizes, Stack Attacker's abilities have gone on. So he is now going to be able to start... Joe Stack Attack is going to be very difficult to KO here. Very difficult to KO. They've got 200 HP. That means 7 turns of Mew dropping 3 damage. But even Lunala doesn't save Josh here. Lunala's got 160, but Lunala's not going to... Lunala cannot take a hit from that Stack Attacker with a Beastite. It just can't. Unless he hits a heads on a catcher and takes out the Stack Attacker with a Beastite. And that might be a route to victory here. That might be a route for Josh to win. He essentially hits heads on a Pokemon catcher, brings up the stack, even if he's got one left, which I don't know if he does, brings up the Stack Attacker, KOs it with Lunala, which would get a KO. Oh, would it get a KO? No. Yes, it would. Yes, there are 10 energy on the field, so it would get a KO on Stack Attacker. And then it would be able to take a hit from anything on Joe's field. Maybe then. I think that's Josh's route to victory. He's got to gust up and KO that Stack Attacker. And then hope that Joe has no gusting. And then take 2 more KOs in a row on weaker Pokemon. While Joe is unable to return KO because Lunala's got 160 HP and a resistance to fighting. Assuming that neither of them decks out in the meantime. I kind of love this game because it's coming down to both players. You know, Joe's got 6 cards left in his deck, and Josh has got 2 cards left in his deck, and Joe can KO anything on Josh's side of the field for the victory, but he can't get the Stack Attacker out the active, and Josh can KO the Stack Attacker, but only if he can bring it active and then KO with Lunala first. It's a real kind of... There's a lot still going on in this game, put it that way. Is there enough? Like, we're going through all these scenarios where Josh can kind of pull out the win, but is there a scenario where Josh can pull out the win? I hope so. Would be fun. Then again, I like Joe too. Joe came to my wedding. So... I like both these people. They're both lovely people. And that's one of the cool things about this tournament, right? Is we only invited people who we like. We only invited people. 7 of the 8 people in the tournament I know personally, and I know they're awesome. 1 person in the tournament I don't know personally, but Stefan vouched for them being awesome, and Stefan's awesome, so... I'm inclined to believe it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm inclined to believe it. But we have gotten to a very kind of slow, cagey end to this game. This is not a game that seems like it's going. We've not had much movement in the last few minutes, shall we say? But this is what it comes down to. Remember, this is the top four, this semi-finals. This is game 3. Winners playing David in the final, which will be up in a few days, incidentally. And Josh is so close to decking out here. Has he left himself enough cards? Because it doesn't matter how much damage he's doing with Lunala, that stack attack is just going to come up and KO him. So it does look like he's taken out that active stack attacker. He's realised that actually he's got to start taking KOs right now. But I think Joe's just got the return KO. Because stack attacker with a beast knight, having taken 5 prizes, does 160. Plus Diancie Prism Star does 180. Minus 20 for resistance is 160. Which is just enough to KO Lunala Prism Star and take the win. But unless Josh had any gusting, yeah, and there we go. Joe takes it 2-1. Joe moves on to the final to take on David. But unless Josh had any gusting, that was always going to happen. Congratulations to Joe and Josh on a very entertaining, very back and forth series. That was fun. And I'll be back in a few days where we can do the final, which is going to be a little bit of the old Josh. No, sorry. A little bit of the old Joe against a little bit of the old David, fighting against darkness. It's gonna be fun. For now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what you think about this game. Follow all the links in the description. You know the deal by now. But by far the most important thing, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.